This week on Archery 101, we're going to talk about the foundation of your shot cycle, stances. Hey everybody, and class is in session. Please sit in your seats. Let's go, boys and girls. All right, welcome to Archery 101. All right, we're going to talk about stances. You know, stances are the foundation of your shot cycle. You know, a solid stance is going to help you achieve a good shot. A weak stance has the opposite effect. It's going to hurt it. Pretty simple, right? You know, a consistent stance will also allow you to learn faster. If you keep changing things, you're not going to learn. Look, I'm going to try to explain it this way. Let's say you have 10 movements, 10 separate things you do in your shot cycle. And if you do each one different every time, how do you expect to have the same result? Isn't that the definition of insanity, what people say? Definition of insanity is doing things, the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. Well, in archery, it's just the opposite. In archery, the definition of insanity is doing everything different each time, but expecting to hit the same spot. Can it be done? Yes. I'm not saying it can't, but I'm saying it's not going to happen on a regular basis for most of us. All right. Now, once you have your shot cycle down, you can add that variation to it. Now, I'm talking about those guys, the traditional archers. Stance is not important, Greg. You've got to be able to shoot from any natural position. You're right. You do. But when you're learning, and if you want to get better faster, make it all consistent. Stand the same way every time. And that's what we're going to cover. All right. Now, just so you know, some people talk different ways. Stance for me is more than just your feet. It's your whole body. Something to remember. Right? And the other thing you got to remember is everybody has a unique stance. You know, one that feels the most comfortable. Your body may dictate a stance that best suits you. And you need to experiment to find the stance that's just right for you, that enables you to naturally direct the bow to the target without hitting left or right. So how you shoot is very independent. I'm not saying everybody must shoot the same way. I would never say that. All right, but I am saying whatever you do, do it the same and you'll see faster results. Now you might have to change it. You just do some shots. I don't like standing that way. Oh, this way feels a little better. But play with it, but try to be consistent. All right, let's go over some general guidelines about what makes up a good stance. Well, good stance is weight distribution, right? You know, the weight distribution should be about 70% of the weight should be on the balls of your feet, where the body's balance receptors are located. Keeping your weight forward improves your balance and can reduce the tendency of the body to rock while standing at the line. Guilty, right? It may be helpful to wear a shoe with a slightly raised heel to help shift the weight forward. I remember when I was in the service, I was on the rifle team for one of my units, and we had a guy from the top of the line Army unit come down, the Army rifle team or something like that, and he had us dig holes in the ground and put our feet in it to shoot better. So I understand what they're saying, and you know what? For me, if I don't, I do the rocking. I catch it on video from time to time. So weight distribution is very big. Now, the body. You know, the body position, if you do it right, it's going to align the upper body with the lower body. I think that's critical. Other people don't, but to me, that is critical. The shoulders, chest, and ribs should be relaxed. Tension, my friends, is your enemy in archery. All right? As much relaxation as possible. Not enough to put you to sleep. Not enough to put you to sleep. All right? The head. The head is held in a natural position and is turned toward the target without tilting. The neck and shoulder muscles are relaxed for stability. The center of gravity of the archer must always be low as possible. I know some people tilt their heads. And archery is one of the few things I'll tell you to do it. When you fight, it's just not, yeah, I can see things, but it throws off your perception. If you want to tilt your head, go ahead, but can you tilt it the exact same way every time? That's right, I like mine up. I like mine about a little bit, right around a 45-degree angle. All right. Chest compression. Now, this is a big one. I can't say I do it. I can't say I don't. I really don't pay attention to it. Chest compression also means to keep your ribs down. It means don't pull your weight up. Don't suck in and go and bring everything up. That's actually bad for you, right? Now, chest compression or lowering the ribs provides several biomechanical advantages to the archer. It prevents arching in the back and allows the back to relax. Here, there's that relaxation thing again, right? Chest compression aids body stability and improves the clearance between the chest and the string. Lowering the ribs improves the alignment and stability of the shoulders and promotes good overall balance. So, weight distribution, 77, right? Body position, you want to get your shoulders and hips aligned as much as possible. You want your shoulders, chest, and ribs relaxed and lowered. You want to keep your body weight down, not up. Your head should be in a natural position. Try as little tilting as possible. All right? And then chest compression. Don't pull it up. Keep it down. A relaxed body. All right. Now we got that out of the way, let's go over some general stances. All right, everybody. I did film this in the studio, and it just didn't feel right. And I could tell you about it all I want, and you may not grasp it. So what I thought I'd do is come here to Flying Arrow Sports in Carmel, New York. Great people, by the way. If you're in the area, check them out. Very knowledgeable. Very kind to let me come down here and play. I have the line so you can see how I stand. I'll demonstrate it and I'll shoot it and I'll give you some personal feedback. Now, I haven't done some of these stances, right? Others I do. So we'll just take it from there, all right? So first up is what they call the squared stance. Now, terminology, everybody's different terminology. Being in martial arts, to me, a squared stance isn't a squared stance. It's what I call a closed stance, all right? This is probably the best stance for beginners to start with. So let's just give a demonstration. I'll come out here. Target's down here. Indoor, outdoor, don't matter. There it is, squared stance. Feet parallel to each other, shoulder width apart. All right, great stance for beginners because it's very natural and easy to replicate. So let's see if an old man gray here can replicate it. So, when you shoot from this stance, a couple things you need to know. How you stand is up to you. You can have the balls, your feet in line, ankles in line, shoulders in line, however, it doesn't matter. So the pros of this stance, it's a very natural stance. I mean, you just easily adapt it. And it's very easy to duplicate. Now, the big thing about the square stance is it facilitates a great biomechanical alignment by placing the hips and shoulders in line with your target. All right? So what that means is it's very natural for you when you lift your bow, you draw, you hit your anchor, my shoulders are in line with the target, and so is my hip. And it's that easy. And believe it or not, I hit a 10, but didn't even really focus it, all right? So that's the beauty of it. You get this natural alignment, and that's something you want to look for. Now, learning the square stance first will produce fewer variances in your execution, and it's going to help you down the road to become a better archer. So, and believe it or not, most people shoot this way, especially trad guys. Now, what's the cons? Well, it has a small base support. You know, it has great support this way, but bad support this way. All right, we're going to cover that just in a second. It's easy for your body to sway, and it can also cause a problem with string clearance. Now, when you stand, like we said earlier, you want the weight on the balls of your feet. If I put the weight on my heels, I'm going to fall backwards. If I put the weight on my toes, I can dig my toes in and keep myself standing up. Leaning back, we don't have the balance. When I lean back, you notice if you look down, if you can see it, my toes want to come off. All right, so that's the big thing. That is the squared stance. Pretty simple stance, right? All right, up next, we're going to cover the open stance. All right, up next is the second most common stance out there, and it's the open stance. It's the stance preferred by Olympic archers and a lot of other people like that, mainly target shooters. It's much more difficult to perfect, and if it's not properly executed, you're going to experience misalignment of the hips, shoulders, and an uneven weight distribution that's going to make you very unstable. What does that mean? Oh! All right, so let's go over the pros and cons real quick. the pros of the open stance is when done right, it's a very stable base. And I'll show you that here in a second. It minimizes your tendency to want to lean forward. It actually gives you a little bit more string clearance. It allows you a more stable base to engage your core muscles with, very important. And it allows a better use of the rotational draw, which I'll cover here in a minute. And the downsides is you're going to want to face the target. People that they don't rotate their hips all the way, they want to keep facing the target. And then this one here will make you want to use your arm more than back. So let's break it down and look at it. So again, I'm on line at my target. Okay. Now all I'm going to do to get in an open stance, I'm in my squared stance, correct? Is I'm going to take this foot and bring it slightly forward. How much you bring it forward is totally up to you. Now you can take your feet and ever so slightly turn them, or you can keep them straight. It's totally up to you. All right. Now, the reason why this is more stable than a squared stance is because if my feet are in line, I have great stability this way, but poor stability this way. Taking a slight step forward now gives me stability in all four directions. Pretty simple? All right. Now, what is a rotational draw? I actually use it from the squared stance. Rotational draw is where you pull with your hips, you rotate your body to get to anchor. You use your body to draw, not your arms. So if I'm here, see how my hips are cocked forward? I'm going to pull my hip back, then I pull my arm back, and I let go. All right. Now there are those, you've seen them, like, not to call names, but the Gray Archer, and a few others that shoot. This is the extreme open stance. All right, and it can be done. I'm not a fan of it. Gives you great stability this way, but poor stability this way. You notice my body's always trying to stay center line. All right, that's the open stance, probably the most preferred stance by Olympic archers today, although that's debatable because a lot of people like the closed stance. All right, on to the next one. All right, everybody. Our next stance is just a variation of the open stance. It's called the oblique stance. It has the same benefits and cons of the open stance. The only difference is in the front foot, so let's demonstrate it real quick. Here's my line. Squared, open, oblique. All right, not bad, pretty much the same thing. I can tell you right now, for me, it's going to be harder for me to pull my hip back. At least that's what it feels like. So let's give it a try and see what happens. Not bad, just not comfortable. I have not done it, but it works pretty good. I'm going to turn both feet in. Let's see what this does. It's still oblique. Let's try this. All right, not bad. It just doesn't feel like I'm turning as much as I can with the others. All right, but that is the oblique stance. All right, let's move on to our next one. Okay, so far we had the squared stance, open stance, oblique stance. Now we're going to add the closed stance. Once again, in terms, closed stance is just the opposite of an open stance. All right, we'll show you in a second. Again, it's very stable. Again, it promotes very good body alignment. The cons is poor string clearance, although if you ask Joe McLean from Catholic Hack Traditional Archer, it actually helps him, and it also promotes a tendency to lean. So let's take a quick look at it. Again, squared stance, open stance, oblique stance, right? Now, the closed stance is this. Don't really shoot like this, let's find out. I do have a funny feeling that's going to be in the way. So get a good hook, set my grip, draw. You you know what, it's not bad. It does feel funny, I will say that, but that's probably because I'm not used to it. But it is right, it really does help a rotational draw. So I cock my hip, draw, and those two are right next to each other. All right, so you know what, it's not a bad stance. Like I said, unconventional, but if it works for you, you know, you could probably do the same thing. Let's see how it works if I do the extreme method, like some archers I know. No, not bad at all. You know, I mean, it gets that hip and the shoulder actually a little bit easier alignment. All right, and that, my friends, is the closed stance. Up next is the most controversial stance, and the one I prefer. All right, everybody, we covered a whole bunch, right? We have the squared stance, open stance, the diagonal stance, or the oblique stance, and the closed stance. Now, the last one is the one everybody tells you never to use. It's the worst stance, blah, blah, blah. It's the one I like, and I can make it work, so, you know, this goes to show you. It's called the narrow stance. Now, I actually call it a closed stance for martial arts, because when your feet are together, it's called a closed stance. I did this without even knowing it. That's how natural it is. I found out that I was doing it because I was on a 3D course one day with Jeff and Leif Krug from the Knocking Point. Great channel. Make sure you watch it and subscribe. Jeff's one awesome archer, by the way. Next bare bow world champion. You heard it here first. Trust me. Watch the guy shoot his Titan. He's awesome. He's going to be the next world bare bow champion. I call it right here. First, 3D archery. Jeff Krug, world bare bow champion. All right. So I'm shooting, and Leif goes, "Why are you shooting with your feet together?" Well, being the highly paranoid defensive person I am, I go, "I am not." So I was shooting later on. Yeah, I was. Doing it and didn't even know it. And for me, like I said, it's just so natural, I didn't even think about it. And I've been doing it for a while now. And for 3D, I love it. It's just great for me. Now, what's the pros of the narrow stance? Well, it's very natural, probably the most natural stance. All right, especially if you're in the military, you know how to come to a position of attention. If you can do that, bingo, you're in a narrow stance. It's great for uneven terrain, awesome for hunting from like a tree stand where you don't have a whole lot of room, and it provides a natural alignment of your hips and shoulders. Now, what's the cons? Well, you're going to want to lean. Guilty. I catch myself leaning from time to time because I'm trying to get over the arrow more, and it's easy to get off balance. But you'll stop that if you keep the weight on your toes, right? All right. So now that we babbled about it, let's take a look at it. So here we are on our line. Target's down here, correct? Squared stance, open stance, oblique stance, closed stance, and narrow stance. Now, one thing I will say about the narrow stance is some places, indoor tournaments, won't let you stand this way because you're not supposed to be touching the line. So all you do is just open your feet up a little bit. All right? So, remember, your stances is the foundation of a good shot cycle. So take time getting your stances down. So I get my stance, I hook my string, I set my grip. I look at my target, I lift my bow slightly above it, I get pressure on the string, I'm going to pull my hip back, I'm going to get my shoulder locked in, I'm going to draw using my back, I'm going to hit, and I'm going to continue pulling backwards. And I let go. And the hand comes back naturally. That is my shot cycle from a narrow stance. I like it. It's simple to do, it's easy, and I don't have to think. All right, do it one more time for you. I'll open my feet up a little bit, just to show you the square stance can be used in almost any position. Alright, and there you have it. So, remember, stances are the foundation of a successful shot cycle. My word of advice is, if you're a beginner, start with a square stance. Shoot that baby. I know the hunters are going to tell you, "Oh no, you got to be shooting." That's right, you do. And I can. You see from the video. I can shoot from all the stances. But learn from one. Eliminate one variable. As I said before, and I'll say it again, we're going to come up to the camera so you can see my face on this one. If you change something in your shot cycle every time, what makes you think you're going to hit the target? If you change enough things, you're never going to get close. That's why so many people have shot grips like this. If you're not hitting the target, or if you don't have a tight shot grip, it's not your bow, it's not your arrows, most likely. It's you. You're doing something different. All right? And that's not a bad thing. It's just you haven't figured it out yet. Still working on mine, getting better. And my scores in indoor shows the difference. Boy, I'm telling you, I went from like my first time I think it was a 180. I hit a 248. You know, that's a pretty good jump in like a year or so. 2 years, I think it was. All right? So stances are the foundation of a good shot cycle. All right, let's take it back to the studio and wrap this all up. All right, boys and girls, here we are. You know, review it all, get you out of here so you can get to that range and practice. Stances are the foundation of your shot cycle. It all starts there, and boy, it can have a big impact on it. Now, more advanced archers can get away with things, but remember what we said. Archery is a process, and if you keep changing parts of that process, you're not going to get the same results all the time. Some of the time, yes, but not all the time. All right? There is not a top archer out there that varies their shot cycle from shot to shot. None. You can tell me about Billy Bob in this corner who can, well, Billy Bob, he does things, he don't even shoot. He just pulls back and let's go. That's great. What has Billy Bob ever won? Well, he killed 3 deer. That's great. Did you know all the top compound shooters and all, Brady Ellison, the top recurve Olympic shooter, is a hunter. Jimmy Blackman, IBO champion, NFA champion, big hunter. Dean Wayne Martin, IBO champion, NFA champion, big time hunter. They're hunters too, and they will all agree that the shot cycle needs to be consistent. All right, don't take it from me. All right, check out what these guys got to say. All right, so we know that's the foundation. After my battling, they're telling you how important it is. Some general guidelines: weight distribution. 70% of the weight should be on the balls of your feet. Do not lock your knees out. Have them ever so slightly bent. You want your upper body and lower body, hips and shoulders squared, in line with the target face, correct? The shoulders, chest, and ribs should be relaxed. You don't want to pull your weight up, you want your weight down, right? You don't want to breathe in and exhale and do all this beautiful stuff and chest compression. You want a good biomechanical shot cycle. Those are the things we're looking for in a good stance. Now remember, you have multiple stances, and you got to do what feels comfortable and natural for you. All right? You got the squared stance. You have the open stance. You have the oblique stance, the closed stance, and that ugly stepchild, only used by pretty much yours truly, is the narrow stance. Now I do have to say I do take some pleasure in shooting pretty darn good with a narrow stance, because all the form Nazis said, you shouldn't do that, that's really bad, and then you can do it. Not saying you should do it. I totally agree you shouldn't use it. I just do. All right, boys and girls, stances. It's the foundation of your shot cycle. That's the first step. Don't just blow it off and stand up there, right? Make sure you do it. Now, one thing I didn't cover is how you align for your shot cycle, for your stance. Everybody does it in different ways. I align my shoulder. I know some people that align the ball to feet, but play with it. Find out what works best for you, but make it the same every time. All right, boys and girls, that's it for today. Make sure you study, go out and practice, take notes, and your notes will be inspected on the 23rd of next month. All right, that's it for today's class. Class is dismissed. Get out there and practice, and don't forget, all right? What? Very good, Jimmy. Have fun. Don't worry about how you shoot. Go out there and have fun. All right, boys and girls, let's go out and let's hit that archery range, and let's get better.